Action.
Action.
Okay.
And go.
Hey guys, this is Anthony from the Stack. Behind me, I have, as always,
Ray.
Yeah.
Yes.
Me.
Me.
And I got another deck profile for you guys. Now, there's been some talk in our comment section about Reboot, especially after our overrated cards video, and I mentioned how I wasn't a huge fan of the whole level 4 jamming, like Reboot strategy. So this is how I would do Reboot. I'm gonna show it to you guys. Am I saying this is a tier 1 deck? Absolutely not. But I think it's good. I think it has its own value. It catches people off guard. It's got its own versatility, and it's just how I would prefer to run my Reboot deck. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right in. So we are going to start with our first card here. It's our level 2, Kaporimon. It's a Reboot deck. So yeah, we're going to run the Reboot Kaporimon that gives plus 1000 DP to our Digimon with Reboot. Pretty self-explanatory. Honestly, there's nothing else for me to say. That's what Kaporimon does. Oh yeah, and I run 4 because consistency. You're gonna see another egg here. And like almost any of my deck profiles. Maybe, I think there's one where I might run another egg, but most of the times it's gonna be 4.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. Alright, next one. Chumon. That's right. Chumon. Opponents can't gain memory except for Tamer effects. So that means Hammer Spark, Jack Raid, Blinding Ray, memory effects like Lilithmon, things like that. Stops it out. Do we want to run a full set and dedicate our whole deck to stopping it? No. But is it nice when it comes up and we might be able to slow him down a little bit? Yeah. So we run just the one, just in case it comes up. So we'll put Chumon aside here. And then our next rookie is my favorite rookie blocker, Gatsumon. That's right, Gatsumon blocker. You have to pay 2 memory to attack, which is the downside in comparison to Agumon. The upside is he's just a tad bit harder to remove for certain decks. He doesn't get ran over by a lot of other rookies. He can actually stand his own just a little bit. So I love running Gatsumon. I love going for like turn-ending plays where I drop him to slow my opponent down a little bit or to protect one of my bigger Digimon without having to, drop like 5 or 6 memory for one of the level 4 blockers. So yeah, Gatsumon is great. Then, now even though a majority of our Digimon have Reboot in this deck, it's still nice to run 4 copies of Toy Agumon here. Toy Agumon gives Reboot as an inheritable, which will be good for our level 7s. And I want to say maybe one of our level 5s that could benefit from it. At times even our level 4s. Because Reboot isn't always going to be around. So Toy Agumon he's nice. He's nice for what he does. The next card we're going to show off, which is, I think, standard in almost every black deck, almost, is Sunnerizumon here. And so Sunnerizumon gives security attack +1 to a black Digimon as an inheritable when it's 13,000 DP and higher. And if he is on the side, then he gives that 13,000 DP black Digimon piercing instead. So that's pretty cool. Sunnerizumon, I mean, he's good for what he does. He's a little pricey, if I'm being honest. In this deck, you don't have to run him, but it is nice to be able to have him. I wouldn't say that he's a must, though. If anything, you could opt out for maybe the Toy Agumon from the black starter deck, or maybe you could just focus on tempo and run some 2 costs level 3s, like Commandramon or Hagurumon. So that's Sunnerizumon there. Put him aside. And now we're going to get into our level 4s. Now, while I do mainly want to be tempo efficient with this deck isn't really meant to go like super fast. So there are just 2 level 4s that I have in here as tech options. So the first one is Sealstramon here. He's the blocker of choice over Dark Tyrannomon. Check out our overhyped cards video and you'll know that if I'm running a blocker to block, it's not going to be a 1 cost Digi-Evolution with a 5,000 DP. It's going to be Sealstramon because that 6,000 DP makes him a little harder to remove for Nidhogg, Shaman DX, Alteress, even if you do see him, and a lot of other things. Even, sometimes DP reduction just makes him a tad bit harder to remove. So yeah, we opt for the Sealstramon. The other tech option, which honestly comes in really clutch a lot of the time, is Mechanorimon. So Mechanorimon is 4 cost to drop, so you're not going to want to Digivolve with him with that 3 cost for Digi-Evolution. You're going to want to drop him to save you. So it's really cool how sometimes you can just drop him and you stop your opponent from being able to go for game, because typically they'll want to go wide with some like level 3s and level 4s and try to push for game. And Mechanorimon makes it so that they cannot swing with their level 3s. You swing with a level 3, it's basically dead. That's free for Mechanorimon because it unsuspends itself after having successfully blocked a Digimon. So that's super cool. It can't attack, you know, so we don't want to really win too many of him, but he's super nice when he comes up. Another thing too, and you got to watch out for this, Diaboromon is the thing. And so Diaboromon tokens are all 3000 DP a pop, and if it's not a yellow mix Diaboromon build that runs Spiral Masquerade, they cannot get rid of Mechanorimon, because de-Digivolving does absolutely nothing to him. Ultimate Flare does nothing to him. Basically, Diaboromon can't really get rid of Mechanorimon unless they intentionally run like some hard removal cards like a Dark Side Attack or some other crazy form of removal. So this just stops out the tokens altogether. Super nice. Now we go to our more tempo efficient level 4s. So we have Numemon, 3 costs to hard play, 1 to Digivolve, 3000 DP. I mean, he's been self-explanatory in every deck that I've made so far and every deck that I will make in the future. 1 cost to Digivolve is nice. 3 costs to play is nice when you're in a pinch. Or even sometimes I'll just play it to like scare my opponent a little bit. Just drop it down. I was like, whoa, a level 4's in play. I gotta do something about that. And the 3000 DP makes it so that he's like little to nothing attacking security, punishing Digimon, or doing much of anything. But he's just like a middleman so that we could get to the Digimon that we really want. We run 4 copies of Tankmon. And so Tankmon we like because he's 6000 DP, hard to remove, 1 cost to Digivolve, very nice for tempo. 6 cost to play, high. Man, I hate when I brick and he's my only like guy in the hand that's feasible to play, and I just pay 6 memory. It's like the worst feeling in the world. But if you have the right hand and you're Digivolving up, he's really nice. And also, side note, this is kind of like a bit of a strategy tip, something to be mindful of. If you have both Tankmon and Numemon in hand, right, and you have a rookie in your raising area, do Tankmon. Do not do Numemon, right? Because you never know when you'll need to hard play that Numemon and make a play afterwards. Tankmon in hand, if you don't have a rookie you could Digivolve on top of, he's kind of bricked. There's not really much that you could do with him. So opt for the Tankmon if you can. Alright? So on to our level 5s. We run 4 copies of Gogmamon here. And so Gogmamon is arguably the best level 5 that Black has to offer. He does so much work on his own. He's like a level 6 in the form of a level 5. So you have Digiburst 1, give any Digimon plus 2000, 2000 DP. You give it to himself, you give it to another Digimon, you give it to your blockers to make them bigger, you give it to him, put him up to 13,000 DP. There's a lot that you could do with that. Makes it so that, honestly, he's a scary card even in your raising area, right? Because if your opponent swings with a level 6 and they don't have a blocker to protect him, Gogmamon could come out, Digiburst 3, be at 13,000 DP, and punish that level 6. So yeah, Gogmamon is a force to be reckoned with, and we mainly play him, I guess, for his versatility, and also that inheritable. And we'll talk about it a little bit more about the game plan and how that works later on. We have our next level 5, and this one is actually probably one of the least played level 5s in any Black deck and Reboot specific decks. And that's going to be Black Mech Galgamon, right? And that's because most people would prefer the Security Attack +1 from the Metal Greymon, and with good reason, right? Security Attack +1, why would you want to pass up on that? We're mainly playing Black Mech Galgamon for his DP boost, that plus 2000 DP for a Digimon that has Reboot. We're going to want that on our turn, because while we are Reboot and we're not like going super turbo, we want to have like a little bit of aggression with this deck. And Black Mech Galgamon is going to help us get there. So I'll talk about that more in a bit. Onto our level 6s, we have 3 copies of War Greymon from BT2. So he's good. The biggest, like, I guess detractor about him is just that weak DP, right? So it's cool that he's 11,000 DP blocker, but a lot of level 6s can swing over him without a problem. And that's why people would run that Black Tie Kamiya. My only thing about the Black Tie Kamiya is that it feels like, I just feel like I don't get that much out of him. And so I choose not to play the Black Takemiya in this deck. There are some ways that we could work around this small DP, but basically 11,000 DP, 3 to Digivolve, nice. And he has Reboot and Blocker, which means by himself, he could swing, do an attack either at a Digimon or security, and then already like unsuspend and be ready to block if you really need to. So yeah, he's pretty cool. And I'm gonna talk about the ways that we're gonna use him moving forward. And then our main guy here is going to be Metal Garurumon, right, from BT5. So he has Reboot. And then he also has the ability, when Digivolving, Digiburst 2, and then you could delete one of your opponent's, not level 6, Digimon with a play cost of 6 or lower. And if you don't have a target to delete, then you could trash the top of their security. This is the main guy for his versatility, the things that he could do, the way that he could control your opponent's board a little bit. Not just remove security, but also kind of nullify it as well. If it's a Zwart Defeat, a Gaia Force, Spiral Masquerade, Needle Spray, whatever it is, even a Tamer, it's gone. Like, it just doesn't activate at all. So Metal Garurumon is really cool for that, and I especially love his ability to punish as well. And so let's say you're starting off your turn with your Memory Tamer, you have your level 5, and your opponents, they have like a suspended level 6 and a blocker protecting them. Especially if you have, here, let me take him out for just a second, Black Mat Galgamon, right? You Digivolve over Black Mat Galgamon, Digiburst any two other than him, right? And you delete the blocker that was protecting the level 6. Now you're swinging for 13,014 if you have Kaporimon at the suspended Digimon, which is pretty cool. That's like a surprise punish that not a lot of people see coming. So yeah, Metal Garurumon is really cool. That's just like one of the things that we do with him in this deck. We'll talk about some more combos as we go. But yeah, Metal Garurumon is great. Now let's go into our level 7s. Probably what is the best level 7 in this set is Omnimon Zwart Defeat. So what is there to be said that hasn't already been said? He comes out of security if he's checked. When Digivolving, you get to delete a Tamer, and if he is for some reason deleted, then you get to delete one of your opponent's Digimon. One of the things I really like about Zwart Defeat is that, one, he's a great way to end the turn, right? So you go, you do what you gotta do, end the turn with Zwart Defeat, because typically, right, once you do what you gotta do, your opponent, as soon as they see that level 6, they're like, how am I getting rid of this guy? I need to get rid of this guy. You bring out Zwart Defeat, and now it's like, should I get rid of this guy? What are the repercussions if I don't get rid of this guy? So I just really like Zwart Defeat for that. He's, oh man, when he comes out of security, it's just the best feeling in the world for you, the worst feeling in the world for your opponent. And yeah, we love to see him when he comes up. So we run the 3 copies of him there. Not a whole lot going with Zwart Defeat. This isn't, again, not a turbo deck. We're not trying to turbo up to Zwart Defeat. It's just nice to see him when we do, right? Now, as a tech option here, and I'm not really seeing this in a lot of black decks, is Omnimon Alter S. Now, I only run the 1 copy because we're not always going to want to pay that 6 cost to go into our level 7. But at an opportune moment, he is explosive in what he can do, right? He can wipe a board clean of all of its Digimon. Sometimes, if you get this off early and, maybe your opponent was bricking a little bit, they got like a level 5 and a level 4, they're really trying to get that level 6. And people underestimate the removal power of black, right? So if you catch them off guard with an Alter S, wipe their board, you put yourself in an amazing position. So yeah, we run Alter S for that. He has the D-Digivolve 1, and then delete every Digimon that's 5,000 DP or less. 1 costs 5,000 DP blockers. Hello, that's what we've been saying. And also, if for whatever reason your opponent was not able to remove him, then you get a free unblockable swing as long as you have a level 6 under him that you could bring back to hand, which is nice. Also, it helps you get your Wargreymon or your Metal Garurumon back to hand so that you can keep going if you don't have another level 6. So Alter S is really nice. We love to see him when he comes up. The next tech here, right? This is basically why I built the deck. No, I'm just kidding, but I love this card so much. It's Omnimon X Antibody. We run the 1. I see some crazy builds running 2 in a black deck. I'm like, hey, power to you. But I wouldn't do that. Because, man, like, I get that you want to see him, but sometimes you might see him a little too often. I feel like he's a very clutch card, right? He's a very clutch card. Like at that one opportune moment that you draw him, you get him, and you go over one of your other Omnimons, right? And your opponent doesn't expect it. They forget X Antibody is even a thing, and you just start punishing them like crazy. Especially since Ward Defeat is a card that people don't want to remove. It's very likely that you'll be able to go into X Antibody. With that being said, he's just the one of. But, remember what he does. So he could Digivolve over another Omnimon for 3. When attacking, he could delete any Digimon that has DP equal to or less than his, which is 15,000, which is virtually every Digimon. And on your opponent's turn, you could stop their attacks by trashing 2 sources under him. So there's actually been moments where he was actually a lifesaver for me. I go into him when my opponent has a wide board, and I stop just enough attacks to help myself survive and win on the following turn. So yeah, Omnimon X Antibody is super good, albeit I will say that because we're playing Metal Garurumon in this deck and you're going to be Digibursting when you Digivolve with him, he will have less sources when you go into X Antibody. That's something to consider if you want to play him for the defensive purposes. I more so play him for his punishing and aggression. So yeah, X Antibody, super nice. Now let's go into our flavor cards for the deck. We got 3 copies of Izzy Azumi again. I think the Tai Kamiya is just, I'm not always wanting to pay that 4, and it's nice to be able to drop Izzy and potentially get him for 3. And also, having him come out of security, and then my my opponent may have to lose out on just the 1 memory they needed, or lose out on their turn altogether, putting them at 0. So Izzy is just really nice, and it's also a way to be able to, look at the top 3, potentially search for some cards that you need. Yeah, Izzy's nice, memory fixer. We want to get to that 3 memory, that's why we run 3 of him. And yeah, we leave it at that. Now, for this next card. I feel like I'm getting repetitive, but this is just this is the game plan that I like. I don't know what to say. I'm trying so hard. I'm like, Anthony, you could do it. Just build a deck that doesn't use Final Zubagon Punch. You can do it. And then every time, I think of an amazing idea where Final Zubagon Punch works, and this is one of them. And so we run 3 copies of Final Zubagon Punch, 2 costs, plus 3,000 DP until the end of your opponent's next turn. And then if that Digimon hits 16,000 DP when you play it, blocker, reboot, security attack plus 1 till the end of your opponent's next turn. I'll talk about how the combo works. You may already have an idea as it is now, but Final Zubagon Punch is going to be one of our main cards to initiate aggression on our opponent. So we have Final Zubagon Punch here. Then we have a couple more flavor cards here. We have Ultimate Flare. This is one of those cards that you can look forward to in security, other than Zwart Defeat, that can slow down your opponent a little bit, depending on where they are, right? If they haven't Digibursted everything, or if they have multiple rookies. I mostly want to see them security than wanting to play it in hand. There are some times where playing it in hand pays off, but a lot of the time it's like, I hope this is in security to save me. So yeah, we run just the 1 Ultimate Flare because, oh my gosh, I don't want to see 2 of this in my hand. So yeah, just the 1. Now, this next card that I would probably want to see in hand or in security, and it's funny, Ray just brought this to my attention because I was asking, I had 1 more slot in my deck, and I was like, dude, what card do I run? I was about to run Breath of the Gods, but instead he suggested that I run a Blazing Storm of Metal. And so the thing about Breath of the Gods is that it's a little redundant to run it in a Reboot themed deck, because one of the main things it does is give Reboot. It has the additional effect of making it so that your Digimon can't be DP reduced, be bounced to hand or the deck. But other than that, I don't want to really give my Digimon Reboot that bad. And so I feel like it's kind of a waste, and it's also a 2-cost card. But then Ray opted for this card. Ray, why don't you go ahead and just tell the audience about it?
Yes, there's a lot to this card. A Blazing Storm of Metal has a lot of effects for just 1 cost. So basically it reads that until the end of your opponent's next turn, it gives all of your Digimon with Reboot plus 1000 DP and blocker, right? So not only do you have a Digimon with plus 1000 DP if they have Reboot, but now you can swing and they'll have blocker until your opponent's next turn. On top of that, it has an amazing effect in security, which says when security it activates, it stops all of your opponent's other Digimon from attacking. That's the first sentence. And the next sentence says, add this card to your hand. So now you can potentially stop your opponent twice. You can stop them when they swing, and the next turn, you can pay 1 memory and give all of your Digimon with Reboot blocker once again. So now all of your Digimon with Reboot have blocker stopping all their swings coming up on the next turn. So extending your potential of winning the game and just giving more utility to Metal Garurumon and other Reboot Digimon.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, yeah. I could already see a lot of situations where a Blazing Storm of Metal would come in like really handy. In fact, I may even opt out of the Ultimate Flare to play a second copy of a Blazing Storm of Metal. Because yeah, it's just so good. And unlike Breath of the Gods, like Ray said, you add it to hand, which is like, what? That's super nice. With the Breath of the Gods, like once it was gone, I was like, bye. Now this comes to your hand and like you get a chance to use it. 1 cost too. A lot of value there. So let's talk about some of the combos about how we make all of this work, right? So an ideal line would be Kaporimon, Sonorizumon, let's say we have Tankmon, whatever level 4, doesn't really matter too much. We have Gagumon, and then let's just start off with our side level 6. We have Wargreymon, right? Assuming we have our Memory Tamer in Izzy, right? We can Final Zubogon Punch, and he'll be at 16,000 DP thanks to the 1,000 he gets from Gagumon and the 1,000 he gets from Kaporimon, meaning he doesn't need jamming. On top of that, he can punish, if you really need to, one of your opponent's Digimon, right? Something that you couldn't do before, where it was just like the jamming strategy. You know, get him jamming, and it's like, oh, cool, I can swing into security with jamming, but you can't punish like a really strong, I don't know, like a Nidhoggmon, Lord Nightmon, even some level 7s, right? Your Wargreymon now has the capacity to do that. So if you want, you could swing into security for 3 checks, right? Or you could take that 16,000 DP and punish one of your opponent's Digimon. Pretty nice. When you go into Metal Garurumon, what you can do is, right, you're going to Digiburst too. If you have Final Zubogon Punch in hand, then you can opt to Digiburst these two, right? It'll still be at 13,000 DP, thankfully, and you could opt for the Final Zubogon Punch play. If not, then, and I probably wouldn't recommend this, right, because you kind of want to activate Metal Garurumon's when Digivolving ability, but let's say you have like a clutch play in mind, you Digivolve him in Raising so that his Digiburst ability doesn't activate, and you get to keep Sonorizumon, go Final Zubogon Punch, and you're still putting in the same amount of damage that you would have put with Wargreymon. Another thing that is cool here is that you can also do it with Black Mat Galgamon. So what I like about this deck is that once you go into Metal Garurumon, you can instead Digiburst these two and keep the Sonorizumon. That way you keep your security attack +1, could then Final Zubogon Punch and go for that 3 security attack, which is pretty nice. So let's say you had to Digivolve up from a rookie here, right? For some reason you couldn't Digivolve up in your Raising area, some things happen, and you decide to Digivolve up from one of your level 3s that are already out in play. You can go Metal Garurumon on top of that, right? You can do your Digiburst too. And then, when you have a chance to, if you do Blazing Storm of Metal with Final Zubogon Punch, which is 3 total, you can still hit that 13,000 DP requirement. On top of that too, what I like is that, you still have options to be able to hit that 13,000 DP. So maybe you have to hard play a Numemon, do Black Mat Galgamon, and then you go Wargreymon on top of that. He's at 13,000 DP. You could Final Zubogon Punch him. So you have multiple ways that you could get to that.
13,000 DP?
Yeah, that's what I wanted to say. So you have multiple ways that you could get to that 13,000.
To that,
Yep.
that requirement?
Yeah, you have multiple ways to get to that 13,000
There we
DP
go.
mark. And one more thing, last thing I'm going to show you about some of the combos that you can run. If you're digivolving up, because this is something that I find myself doing a lot, right? Sometimes when you're playing up against a deck that can control your board very easily, mainly yellow, right? What I would do is that when you go into your Metal Garurumon, right? And you know that it is very likely that he's gonna die next turn. What I'll do is I'll Digiburst, let's see, we'll do Numemon and Black Galgamon, right? And we'll actually leave Toyagumon, Kaporimon. If you have Zwart-Defeat in hand, just go into Zwart-Defeat. You'll be able to Final Zubagon punch him later because he's already at 13,000 DP. And he'll have Reboot, which means if you do Blazing Storm of Metal, he's gonna get that plus 1,000 DP and that blocker for the following turn, which is pretty nice as well. So you have a lot of options, which again is something that I like in my deck. I like options. I like being able to do multiple things and not just have like such a narrow game plan. And that's what I feel like you're able to accomplish with this deck. So a lot of things going on, multiple ways to get your security attack +1, DP boost, defensive options. You got a lot of things here. So yeah, do you have any closing remarks, Ray, on this deck before we close it out?
No, I think it's another very versatile black deck. I think also that Metal Garurumon puts in a lot of work, and if you give him extra security, you can totally take a game by a storm, you know, by a
Blazing Storm of Metal.
And Metal Garurumon is one of those cards that have been seeing a lot more play recently, and with and it totally makes sense for it to. What am I trying to say? And with
You
all,
tell me, bro.
And with all, okay, what's the phrase that I'm looking for? With all, and
With great
all,
power.
With great power comes great responsibility. Superman used to say that.
I saw that video. I love Marvel comics. As Superman would say, with great power comes. There's so many things wrong with that sentence.
No, well, I like. Yes, it's looking.
Big word.
Yeah, big. It's big wording a lot. Yes, it's seeing a lot of gameplay recently, and it totally deserves to because it's a really good card.
There you go. Absolutely.
That's all it is.
Metal Garurumon is a good card, and he does a lot of work in this deck. This is how I prefer to run my Metal Garurumon. I probably make some tweaks and changes. I probably, like I said before, sub out the Ultimate Flare for another Blazing Storm of Metal, just to keep that consistency. Another card in security that just stops my opponent's attacks altogether, comes to hand, and allows me to make plays from there. So yeah, but that's pretty much it. I hope you guys enjoyed this Reboot deck. Like, comment, subscribe. Let us know, please, like what you would do differently. Would you run this deck? Do you agree with me on the whole, you know, I don't really agree with the jamming playstyle when it comes to Reboot. That's just me. Maybe you have a different opinion. But with all that being said, you guys have a good one and stay stacking.